Good afternoon, Fighting Irish fans. As she said, my name is Dolly Duffy, and I have the incredible privilege of being the executive director of your Notre Dame Alumni Association. But an even greater privilege is today I get to interview the national champion lacrosse coach, Kevin Corrigan. And I have to tell you, Kevin is a dear friend of our family, is a neighbor, and I'm still fangirling over the fact that I get to be up here with you. Yeah. So it's true. So 35 years at Notre Dame, Kevin, and let's just jump right into it. Tell us what that 35 years looked like up till this last year.
Yeah, well, it looked like a whole lot of different things, honestly. When I first got here, they were just getting into the lacrosse business, if you will. The world was such a different place. I mean, the athletic world was, right? I mean, to where we are today from 35 years ago. I had the great luck of coming in the fall of 1988, and as our football team was winning a national championship, so we were selling more football than we were lacrosse at that point. We're like, come out and watch our football team, and you get to play for a lacrosse team. But over the years, Notre Dame, as it does, invested in the program, invested in the kids, and it's not a place where they accept mediocrity. So you quickly get better because they give you the things you need to be better, and you have this incredible place to attract kids to. So we just took the steps of getting into the NCAA tournament our second year and into the top 20 and then into the top 15 and then winning tournament games and just kind of slowly took steps. I didn't think it would take 35 years to win the last game, but it's either a testament to perseverance or even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then, right? It's one.
Well, it was pretty elusive, and it wasn't like you didn't flirt on the edge of it, a number of times. But the one thing that has always impressed me about you is, while I'm sure that every year you wanted to win a national championship, but at the same time, you were so focused on making the lives of the young men that were part of your team better, fuller, and some of the ways that you did that over the years. I want to talk a little bit about that substance before we talk about the big one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Notre Dame, right? I mean, it's a place where I don't care who you're talking to. Everybody here considers their job to be developing young people. That's everybody's first job. Quickly followed by you better win games or we'll find somebody else to develop those young people. But it is the focus of everybody here. It's a very holistic approach here. So I'm not really doing anything special. I'm just doing kind of what Notre Dame calls on you to do, and it's a privilege to do it at a place where they do care so much about those things. They support your efforts in doing those things, whether it's here in our community or in the communities that we travel to with our team, or even the places we take our guys to try to help give them opportunities after school and that kind of thing. It's just you're just lucky to be at a place that supports all those things.
So popular wisdom would say that you probably should not correct your guest, but I'm going to do it anyway because Kevin says he does it just like everyone else, and I'm here to tell you he does it better than everyone else. And he's legendary, and it's talked about. Yeah, absolutely. So I promise that's the only time I'll correct you. It's the only thing I could. Okay, so was there a moment last year where you thought maybe we could go all the way, maybe this is it?
Oh, I honestly felt that way from the very beginning. We had an incredible group of kids last year, and as good talent-wise, I knew we were going to be in that group of teams that would have a shot at winning it. But as the year went on, and I saw kind of the personality of our team, and particularly the personality of the leadership of our team. We had 4 captains last year that were phenomenal. I mean, and as good as any I've ever been around in 40 years of coaching. And when there's that internal leadership and that internal compass on everything that you're doing, it seriously made it maybe the easiest year I've ever had in coaching, just because it wasn't up to me to drive things all the time. They were doing it from within the team, and everybody was all in. And so it really was just an incredible year from that standpoint. And the fact that it ended up being, we made that one or two plays that you need to make at the end to carry the trophy, made it even better. But it would have been a phenomenal year if we had come a play or two short because of just the dynamics within the room of our team.
So let's talk about that. Let's go back to the Final Four. You're playing Virginia, your alma mater. You've already lost to them twice in the season. Your only 2 losses of the year. It was back and forth the entire game. I don't need to say anything else. You somehow managed to tie it at 12, force an overtime. What happened next?
Well, I mean, just to tie it was amazing. It was a minute and a half left, and we were down by 2 goals. So we just again, guys just made plays. It was an amazing series of events. But yeah, when we scored in overtime, Brian Tevlin scored out of a timeout in overtime, and I don't know. I just didn't see any way we weren't going to win on Monday after finishing that semifinal game that way. The spirit of our guys was amazing, and I felt great about it until the next day when we met with our team, and I found out that our best player had torn his hamstring and dislocated his shoulder, and maybe it wasn't going to be quite as easy as I thought it would be. I remember I kept in that practice on Sunday saying to Pat Cavanaugh, hey, if Pat's not here, then we'll have Chris here and we'll do this. And I said that a couple times, and Pat looked at me and said, will you stop saying that? There's no way I'm not playing in that game tomorrow. I've waited my whole life to play in that game. And so, again, when you have a guy like that, everybody just kind of jumps on his back, and things are easy from there, or easier.
Okay, so now it's you're getting ready to go into the game. Number 1, Duke. Very much a different game than the Virginia game. You take a 6-1 lead into halftime before the Blue Devils tie it at 7 with a minute left in the third quarter. Ooh, man, I was there. My hands were sweating. How did you finish out that game to come with a victory like that?
Yeah, again, I'm being in the huddle of our team at the end of the third quarter, and you're thinking, gosh, at halftime everybody's feeling great. At the end of the third quarter, we've just gotten outscored 6-1 in that quarter, and it's a tie game. But I never 1 second did anyone kind of waver. I mean, there was no uncertainty. There was nobody, looking to point fingers or anything else. Everybody was just like, all right, what's the next play we got to make? What's the next thing we got to do? And we kind of did that for the next 15 minutes and pulled away from them again. So it really was. I mean, just the spirit, the attitude of this team was exemplary in every way.
So I was thrilled to be at that game, and the thing that everyone said was that team and those players wanted it for their coach even more than they wanted it for themselves.
I don't know about that.
Well,
but I'll tell you this. There were probably 80% of the 35 years of guys that I've coached here at that game. I mean, guys were taking red eyes from the West Coast to be at that game. It was such an unbelievable attitude after the game. The spirit in the locker, in the parking lot and everything of all these alumni who weren't saying like you did it, they were saying we did it, right? We finally got there. So it was just a wonderful thing to be part of, to have that many people feel still a part of it, and to feel like it was everybody's accomplishment.
Let's talk about the parking lot, right? So and I mean that. So all the wherever we go for things like this, the Notre Dame clubs, who are phenomenal, usually put on an event. This is the one time when the Notre Dame club, after the first day, had to concede that they couldn't even begin to compete with what was going on in the parking lot, because all of the parents and all of the former players and all of the fan club of the team and Kevin and Liz band together to put on a tailgate like nothing I've ever seen. And I probably shouldn't talk about this with a microphone, but someone said that night, yeah, we just finished the 50th handle of vodka, right? They were celebrating before the game even started. But more importantly, anybody who was there was in the parking lot. Kevin, talk about that. What did that mean?
Yeah, I mean, that meant everything. Our guys couldn't stop talking about it. Even as the bus pulled in, 2 hours before the game, there were literally thousands of people at one tailgate, and it was all Notre Dame people, and just it was. Yeah, even the other teams were talking about it. Like how amazing the turnout was for our guys. So, really cool.
Yeah, and then what did it feel like to hoist that trophy?
I don't think I ever touched it. I think the guys grabbed it and ran off with it, but it was listen. Watching our guys. I mean, listen. I've been coaching, like I said, for 40 years, and we got all the way to losing in the championship game, right? So I know how close you can get without getting there, but to watch your guys have that moment at the end of the game and that next half an hour of just pure joy from these guys who've invested so much and committed so much to it, and to see them get to celebrate like that, phenomenal.
And then after the game, unfortunately, I did not get to partake again of the tailgate, so I didn't get to see this. But the stories were legendary that it continued on, right? And I think you joined them.
On the field, we had a great turnout. Jack Swarbrick was great. He brought a bunch of coaches with him to the game, Marcus and a number of other coaches who were there and down on the field after the game. Father John was there down after the game. I made Father John put on a hat so I could take a picture with him. And maybe the only picture in captivity of him with a hat on, but I wanted to get him with a national championship hat on. So somehow I've never seen those pictures. I know they were taken, but I haven't seen them. So he apparently doesn't like to be seen in hats. But
I having known you over the years, and I think about your dedication to Notre Dame, and yet it's not your alma mater, but it really is. You're every bit as much a Notre Dame man as most of the people that graduated from here. But you had lots of opportunities to go somewhere else. Why did you stay?
Well, this place is different. I mean, it just is. It's different because of the people, first of all, but the reason the people are what they are is because they're all attracted to what's here, right? And it's so much. It's if you want to be happy in life, be part of something bigger than yourself. Be part of something that's more meaningful than yourself and what you do every day. And at a place like this, everyone's here. Everyone's attracted to being at this place because you have so many opportunities to do that, whether it's being part of the young people's lives that we get to work with every day, whether it's your faith community, whatever it is, you're part of these things that remind you on a daily basis that you're not the center of the universe. But you can create a great life here. And I just was never sure if I was to go somewhere else that I would ever feel that way about another place. As great as so many other schools are around the country, I'm not sure there's any place else that can do that as well as Notre Dame does.
Well, thank you for staying, and for so many reasons. Okay, so your athletic family pedigree is amazing, and I'm going to guess there's some people here that know a little bit about it, but others that don't. Starting with your dad, Gene Corrigan, who was the athletic director and the consummate gentleman, and your sweet mom. Tell us about your whole family and where they came through this process.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, and we ended up at Notre Dame because my dad came out here in 1988 to be athletic director, but we really ended up out here because he was one of 7 kids in Baltimore, Maryland that went to church every Sunday and went to Catholic school during the week, and the nuns told them all to pray for Notre Dame before they left, and the priest talked about the game and made sure everybody got out in time for Lindsey Nelson's highlights on Sunday morning on their way home. So that's kind of how we grew up, and then. But my dad was a coach when I was born. He was a lacrosse coach, but also 1958 he was also the soccer coach and the assistant basketball coach at the University of Virginia, all at the same time, because that's how things were in those days. So then he became an athletic director and came here. I came 2 years after he left. He hired Coach Holtz before he left, and unfortunately didn't get to stay and enjoy the fruits of that one. But I was here for it, so it was good. Had two brothers who went to school here. So after Dad left here, he became the commissioner of the ACC. And then, but all my brothers have been in coaching at some time. I got four brothers. They've all been coaches at some point. My brother Tim's a producer for ESPN now. My brother Boo is the athletic director at NC State. So we had a no talk week last week. We were on radio silent for a week to see if we could get past that one. But,
he had to have seen that coming.
You'd like to hope.
That's incredible. So we're going to get to audience questions here in a minute, but give us an outlook on what the team looks like, right? And I know it's early, and you can just share just a little.
Well, we've only had 2 practices, and we look terrible. So we'll hope to be better today.
Who are you retaining that we should be excited about?
We have both the Kavanaugh brothers back. We have those guys are terrific. We have back Liam Entenmann, who was not only first team All-American, and the goalie of the year in the country, but the MVP of the tournament. So Liam's terrific, and that'll cover a lot of weaknesses, I think, over the course of the early part of the year. We got a lot of guys back, honestly, and if we can all keep our heads about us and get back to starting at zero and working our way through the year, we have a chance to be pretty decent again, I think.
Yeah, is it hard to have them know that they've started 0-0?
They get daily reminders. It's all part of the deal. I called every coach that I know from any sport. I called soccer coaches, basketball coaches, lacrosse coaches, anybody that I knew that won more than one national championship. I called them this summer and said, "All right, tell me what it's like when they come back after winning a championship. What did you learn from that process, and what would you do differently if you had a chance?" But really, the advice kind of boiled down to very simply, just you have to start at the beginning. There is no picking up where you left off. There is no defending anything. That was another team, another day, and you just got to start over with every group. So that's what we're in the process of doing.
So one last question before I turn it over. I'm looking around because I don't know that I've seen you out like this without your incredible wife, Liz.
Yeah, long suffering.
But the question is, in which direction? Liz has been a constant, and I'd say this if she were here, I'd be remiss not to, a constant presence on that sideline, a constant presence everywhere, all the time, in her unabashed support of you.
Oh, no doubt. Her unabashed support of the 400 and something lacrosse players that have come through our program. That we'll have guys over at our house tonight that are coming by with their children, to stop by and see Liz and hang out a little bit. So, yeah, it's one of the benefits of staying around a little while.
Will she cook? Because she's a pretty good cook.
No.
Okay, so
She'll order pizza.
She'll order pizzas. Yeah, I'm doing the same. Okay, so let's turn it over to questions from the audience.
Maggie and I are from Flushing, New York. I went to Holy Cross High School. We could never beat Chaminade. What is your pipeline to Chaminade?
Yeah.
What a great school, especially for lacrosse players.
Yeah, my assistant coach, talk about where we came from. My first year at Notre Dame, we had zero money for assistant coaches. So I called up an old friend of mine who I had played with at Virginia, and I said, "Your brother is graduating from UMass," and they were both Chaminade graduates. And I said, your brother's graduating from UMass, and I heard he wants to go to grad school. And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I got just a place for him, and he can coach lacrosse." I'm like, "No money, but he can coach lacrosse while he's doing it." So Jerry Byrne came out and was an assistant for me for the first 3 years that I was here, left and had a great career in the corporate world, and then came back to coaching about 15 years ago and was with us for another dozen years. So having that Chaminade guy from the beginning and then in a significant time afterwards started that pipeline, and thankfully, it wasn't like we created that pipeline, right? I mean, Chaminade kids have been coming to Notre Dame in droves for years.
Yes, Kevin, you probably don't remember me, but I'm George Carr from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Oh, my gosh.
And I used to play golf every weekend with your dad. And I went to church at St. Pius X with your parents for many, many years. And
That's great,
so,
George.
and what a wonderful family you have. And it's been a great treat and pleasure to know your family and have a good relation with them.
Yeah, thank you so much. My dad is just one of the my hero, of course, but just one of the great people. That, he just had a way. He just had a way with people. You liked being around him. You looked forward to seeing him. Him and my mom both, and you loved being with him after you left. And so
And he would always leave you with a few secrets, like we knew who he really liked in the ACC and who he didn't like. So he would always share a little something, never too much, but
That's funny.
we were able to get a little commentary out of him during the rounds of golf.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I always loved my dad when he retired. We had shirts made, with his famous line from when he played golf, because he was a very average golfer at best, but everybody hits a good shot now and then. So anytime he hit a good shot, he'd stand over it and just look at it and go, "What a great athlete!" And and so we had shirts made.
Oh, yeah.
What a great athlete!
What a
on
great
it.
athlete. Well, that is great.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about Leo Lemonster? I always thought anybody that wanted to play goalie in lacrosse had to be a little bit nuts. And he's just an unbelievable player. Just can't get over him.
Yeah, Liam is he's one of the kind of goofiest, like happy guys that you'd ever meet. We had 4 great captains last year, and each one of them offered something different. But what Liam offered more than anything else was his absolute love for everybody on the team and his just pure joy in playing the game. And so you need that if you're stepping in front of shots at 100 miles an hour every day. It helps to really like it, and he's dumb enough just to be that guy that really likes it. But I mean, you couldn't pick a guy that you'd want to be around more than Liam Entenmann on a day-to-day basis. Just a wonderful kid, and reflexes like you can't believe. So, yeah.
Yes, I wondered if you could give us your opinion on the football game today.
On tomorrow's game, I try to stay to my lane. I'm not going to prognosticate anything about football. I love our coaches, though. I tell you, I think we've got a great coaching staff right now, and I think when you have that, you get the right kids in the room, and they're getting the instruction and everything and the motivation that they need from that group. But I'm a huge fan of the coaching staff that we have right now. So I'm going to say we're going to win.
So Kevin, was it last year when the whole team turned out?
Yeah, the Virginia game. Yeah, they all came over. They finished practice and they all came out through the back gate and kind of snuck up on the hill to watch us play. That was fun. That was great.
Yeah, and they hadn't
We
even
lost.
they hadn't. I know you did,
They're not
but
invited back.
yeah. But Marcus is a big fan of yours, and he was there at the game, and
He's great. I mean, he's such a humble man, and I mean a truly humble man. No false humility about him. He's very confident in what he does, and all that. But he also is somebody who thinks he can learn from anybody and from any situation. And so he goes through things with that kind of awareness and that kind of humility, and I think that rubs off on your team. I think when you're always looking to learn and thinking you have more to learn, I think the people around you tend to be the same way.
that's great. I think we have one right here.
It would be goalie. If I could recruit for just one position, he asked, what would it be? It would be goalie, because every ball has to go by that guy, right? And it takes a special kind of guy, as we alluded to earlier. It takes a special kind of guy to stand in front of those balls and know that every single goal, that get scored on the day went by him. So whatever mistakes were made anywhere else, it still had to go by him. And to let that go and be ready to make the next save, it takes a special kind of guy. So, yeah, you find one of those guys as good as the one we have right now, and you're really, really lucky.
The question was, could you speak to the recruiting class that you just brought in?
I think we have the best defensive class in the country. We have 3 defensemen, one from Chicago, one from New Jersey, and one from North Carolina, which kind of puts 2 outside the mainstream of lacrosse, but they're phenomenal athletes. And in fact, the one from New Jersey, most people here probably remember Todd Light, who played football here, cornerback years ago. It's his nephew, and who was a New Jersey State Player of the Year as a defenseman, which is kind of unusual for a guy to get that kind of award. So I think we have a great freshman class. We have a great freshman face-off guy, and then we have 3 middies and an attackman. Besides that, unfortunately, 3 of those 4 guys are hurt right now. Well, I should say either hurt or missing. Jordan Faison, who we think is going to be a terrific player for us, walked onto the football team this summer, and is on the roster. He's a wide receiver, and they could not be more impressed with him. I wish they were less impressed with him, to be honest with you. But they think he's terrific, and I think you'll see him on the field. Maybe not this year, but I think in a year from now, I think you'll see Jordan Faison on the field as a wide receiver.
So there's a question back here.
Yeah, Coach, just looking for the future. If there's any young kids here who get the opportunity to hear from a legend about what good looks like, what do you think some young kids could do to potentially play for Notre Dame someday and be great lacrosse players?
Boy, there's so many things, but I think the biggest thing is if it feels like work, you might be in the wrong thing. I mean, it has to be a passion. It has to be something that you do the work not because you're trying to get to some goal, but you do the work because you love the work. And I think if there's anything that we have on our team that I appreciate right now, it's that's how our guys feel about it, right? It's not pushing rope every day to get people to work hard on the practice field. They're just, all I got to do is guide them. They bring their own motor every day, and they're excited to be there and excited to be with each other. And so I think that's, be a great teammate, be a guy that loves the game, is passionate about what you're doing, and who knows what happens after that.
So, Kevin, year after year, your team, your seniors miss their graduation. And you have a reputation for doing a phenomenal job of trying to recreate a graduation on the road that they remember. It isn't just checking the box. Yeah. And I love what you did this last year. Could you share a little about that?
Yeah, it starts every year. We never know until literally the Sunday before graduation whether we're going to be on campus or not. And hopefully we're not, because that means we won a tournament game and we're playing again the next weekend. But so that gives us 6 days to not just prepare for the team and the travel and everything else involved to play the next weekend, but to plan a graduation on the road with our families, because our families can't get here, our kids can't get here, and we don't want them. That's obviously a huge day in all their lives, and we try to make sure it's special. So I started a long time ago figuring out that if you ask people, the worst thing they can say is no. So I'll ask anybody. I don't, I have no shame when it comes to it, because it's all for the guys, right? And so as a result, very few people say no. You'd be surprised at the people who said yes. And this year, we were fortunate to have Admiral Grady, who is vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff right now, which makes him the second highest ranking military officer in our country, who also happens to be a friend of Dolly's. Might have been why he said yes. But he was unbelievable. We were, not only that, we were playing at the Naval Academy. And so, when we asked Navy, we said, hey, we want to have a little ceremony on Saturday after our practice, or we were playing on Sunday, and could you find us the space? They were like, yeah, we'll see what we can do. And 2 days later, we said, oh, by the way, Admiral Grady's going to speak. They said, oh, we got a place for you. And we were right up at the top of the stadium looking out over the whole thing. I mean, we got the the A+ treatment after that. So it was really cool. He obviously delivered an unbelievable message to our guys, and something that now those guys and their families will always remember. Instead of remembering that they missed graduation, they'll remember that they had their own graduation. So it's kind of special.
Yeah, and it was particularly fun because he and his wife Christine were so enamored with the program, so enamored with the students, their families. Kevin, like from that moment on, they were all in. So, okay, I think we have time for maybe one more question. How about Howard right here?
Is there a coordinated effort on the part of the coaches to deal with this NIL issue? And is that preferable? Is it what other universities are dealing with? Or how much latitude do you have?
Yeah. Well, we're all making it up as we go along. That's the first thing, right? I mean, it is every school in the country is dealing with it to some extent. Even if you're just a victim of the fact that other people are giving that money, you're dealing with it to some extent. I feel about NIL the way I feel about Title IX. Like, what took us so long to get here? Why did that happen in 1972 instead of 1872? And why did NIL happen, 2 years ago instead of 50 years ago? It's student athletes should have the right to trade on their name, image, and likeness the way every other student on campus can trade on theirs. Where we missed was we waited so long and we did it under duress instead of being ahead of the game, that these collectives were formed that now have just turned into ways to funnel money to athletes. And in the lacrosse world, you see some of that. Obviously in football and basketball, it's changed the landscape completely, and not for the better necessarily. I'm happy to see the players, get their just rewards, but I feel like they've always been getting a pretty fair deal. We might have pinched a few pennies on them when we didn't need to, that made this kind of issue all back up. But it's the right thing. We just need to get a grip on it and have it be done in the right way, and then I think it'll benefit everybody. Yes, sir.
Please join me in thanking the national champion lacrosse coach, Kevin Corrigan.